Hi, in today's Stress Buster, I'm going to provide some information on how to create balance. I'm providing this to hopefully, help you to be able to create some balance and to be able to reduce stress, because I know how difficult it can be when you're trying to manage stress. A lot of that comes from, work overload, balancing obligations from professional and personal life, and when those things intersect. So when I'm discussing this, I'm talking about something that I have had personal experience with. In my career, I've worked on my education at the same time while working 40 hours a week. I was also a single parent. My daughter's going off to college soon here, but, I raised her while, working on my education and working 40 plus hours a week. And then recently, I started, my business. I do freelance paralegal work, and I also am the director for Paralegal Rainmakers. 40 hours a week is unheard of. I haven't seen 40 hours a week and I don't know how long, probably more like 80 hours a week. So I understand stress. So hopefully this particular session can help you, because it's important. Stress, sometimes we just throw it around like, oh my God, I'm just stressed out, and we deal with it lightly, but it's really, it's really damaging if it's not dealt with effectively. So I hope this particular session and all the stress busters that I send out can be of use to you in your particular life, in your career. So in this particular session, I'm going to discuss, how you can determine what your stressors are, some common stressors, and then a particular technology device that you can use to reduce your stress, and then creating professional and personal boundaries, and why that's important. So what is stress? Although this might seem to be an elementary question, understanding the true definition of stress allows for you to understand how stress affects you individually. According to the Institute of Heart Math, stress is the term used to describe the wear and tear the body experiences in reaction to everyday tensions and pressures. Now, the Institute of Heart Math provides resources and information on stress and overall well-being. They're a leader when it comes to dealing with stress and stress-related issues. Now, these are some issues relating or resulting from stress, some common stressors. Workload is number one, followed by people issues, whether that be with co-workers, a boss, a significant other, children, in-laws. And then third is juggling work and personal life. So creating that balance between professional obligations and personal obligations. And then fourth is the lack of job security. So what are your stressors? Stressors are those things that cause an emotional imbalance and are different for everyone. So what causes me stress may not cause you stress, and what causes you stress may not cause me stress. The important thing is to understand what your stressors are. I'm going to go over some common stressors that you may deal with as a paralegal or in your career if you work in a demanding job. But again, it's important to determine what your stressors are. Those things that cause a emotional response. It could be, your heart starts beating fast. You can start sweating. You can get really, really red. Whatever the response is, you have to determine what is triggering that response. Now, for a paralegal or an attorney or someone in a very demanding job, it can be information overload, just the amount of information that you have and have to go through. Or a demanding boss, someone that just requires so much from you and it just causes you an extreme amount of stress. That can lead to depression, and it can also lead to other issues like anxiety. And then also there's been studies to link stress to substance abuse. So again, dealing with stress is really important, and you have to determine what is it that's causing you stress so that you can get it under control. It may seem impossible to get it under control, especially when stress derives from work, because you might not feel like there's any way for you to control that stress. If you have a lot of work, you may not feel in control of being able to determine that amount of work. Or if you have an over demanding boss, you may not feel like, which you can't control that person's personality and how they deal with you, but you can determine your response and put things into place so that it's not causing you an unhealthy level of stress. What about performance anxiety? That causes stress when there's so much pressure placed on you to get something done or to be able to do something effectively. That's extremely stressful, whether that's from an overbearing, over demanding boss, or if it just comes with the nature of the job. In the legal industry, it's a stressful industry to work in. You're in control of people's financial fate, sometimes their freedoms. So that is extremely stressful in and of itself. What about when you get home? If you have children, if you're taking care of a sick sibling or parent or an elderly parent, you know that once you get home, your job pretty much is just beginning. That's your second job or third job. And when you're dealing with children that are fighting over the last bit of ice cream or who ate the donut, I was going to eat that, or when you're dealing with the stress that comes with dealing with a sick sibling or an elderly adult that you have to do a lot for, that relies on you for a lot of different things, it can be extremely stressful and add to the stress that you have when you left the office. Now, what about this one? What about financial issues? Or issues with a spouse. Sometimes this is a 2-in-1. The issues with the spouse is coming from financial issues. That's huge. And actually, financial issues is one of the number one cause, if not the number one cause for reasons for divorce. So if you're currently in a relationship and you're dealing with financial issues, or let's say you're going through a divorce and you're dealing with, splitting assets and things of that nature, that's a lot of stress. And it's important to understand that there's no demarcation line to say, okay, once I leave the office, all the stress that I dealt with at the office is automatically shut off. No, you're going to take that home with you, and vice versa. If you're dealing with stress at home, there's no demarcation line to say, your body doesn't say, your mind doesn't say, okay, I'm at work now. I'm not stressed from the things that were going on at home anymore. This is fresh. It doesn't work like that. It's going to affect you. Once you leave one environment, you're going to take that with you into the next environment. So if you're dealing with, financial issues, if you're dealing with issues with a spouse or ex-spouse or significant other, that's a huge amount of stress. So being able to come up with some effective ways of dealing with that is important, because stress can cause some really, really serious issues, not just with being unproductive, because it's known that if you're under a lot of stress, you're unproductive. Sometimes you can't focus. You might be prone to making a lot of mistakes because your mind is overloaded. So it's important to come up with effective ways to deal with it. But it also causes health issues, stroke, heart disease. It's been linked to causing cancer. So these are some really, really serious issues. So it's not about, just how it affects your job, but how it affects your health and your life and the longevity of your life overall. So here's one tool that you can use to manage your stress, and it's called the M-Wave. The M-Wave was created by the Institute of Heart Math, and again, they are a leader in dealing with stress and overall well-being. They have the portable stress reliever, which is handheld. You don't have to plug it in. You can take it with you. Let's say, for instance, you're leaving work and now you're about to go home. Let's say work is extremely stressful and you don't want to take that home with you because you don't want it to affect the way that you deal with your kids or your significant other. You can pull out this personal portable stress reliever before you even start your drive home, or let's say you're going to go through a lot of traffic that's going to cause you more stress. before you even walk through the door. Use the portable stress reliever to help you to deal with your stress. It takes you through different techniques in order to reduce your stress. There's also the desktop version, so you can use it at your office, close your door, your cubicle, whatever, or at home, and go through those guided techniques to help you to reduce your stress. So here are some resources that you can go to get more information. First thing to keep in mind is not to be ashamed of it. A lot of times when we are dealing with stress, because we have different responses to it, we may become ashamed. And there's nothing to be ashamed about. Everybody deals with stress at some particular point in their life. Some people deal with it better than others. Some are not dealing with it so well, and it looks like they are because they are medicating themselves. People are taking prescription drugs to be able to deal with anxiety, depression. Some people are medicating themselves with illegal drugs and with alcohol. Substance abuse is a huge problem amongst attorneys. Now, those are studies that have been done. There's really no studies that have been done about, paralegals, for paralegals and their substance abuse. But if attorneys are dealing with stress that's causing them to abuse substances, and paralegals are dealing with some of those same stressors, it's not a stretch to believe that paralegals are dealing with substance abuse issues too. So the thing is to, one, come up with some stress reduction practices before it leads there, and if it has led there, get some help. Again, don't be ashamed of it. Everyone deals with stress at some point or the other, and that person that you look up to, that they're dealing with stress so well, and you praise them for how well they deal with stress, you may not know that when they get home, they're abusing drugs, they may be abusing alcohol, or they may have some other negative and unhealthy way that they're dealing with stress. So don't be ashamed of it. If you need help, get help. Here's one link that you can go to. It's the American Institute of Stress, and they provide referrals to various organizations and professionals that you can go to if you need assistance with reducing stress or the effects of stress. And then the Institute of Heart Math provides various resources for stress management and overall well-being. And here's a link to their free resources and free services that they offer that you can go to find some different methods to be able to deal with your stress. So again, determine what your stressors are, then come up with some effective ways to deal with it, because it's going to be different for everyone. There's different stressors, so different stress techniques are going to be needed for different stressors. If you have an overbearing boss, then you're going to use a different method than you would use for something like issues with a spouse or children that are fighting over the last bit of ice cream. It's going to be different. So the thing is to determine what your stressors are, and then to come up with some effective ways to be able to deal with that. So you can either, go to HeartMath, their website, and look at the M-Wave, see if that's something that you want to purchase, or go to their page with the free services, or American Institute of Stress, and see if there's some, a referral that you can get, if you need to work with a professional. And there's also some other resources on their website, because, it's important to keep in mind that because everyone has different stressors, that there's going to be some different ways to deal with it. But the important thing is to come up with that technique, come up with that method, put it into practice so that you can reduce your stress, and then just have overall well-being in your life. Life is beautiful, it's wonderful, and it's meant to be lived, and it's not meant to be lived stressed out, and dealing with health issues that derive from, having a imbalance because of stressors. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. If you have questions, feel free to reach out using any of these different methods. Email, website, Facebook, Twitter, mail, or phone. So hopefully you find this session useful and, put some stress practices into place.